Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk about glazing and in particular layering glazes. I have a Japanese style rice noodle bowl here with the little chopstick marks, and I've glazed it with 3 coats of a neutral. Now this looks pretty dark, and this goes to show you again, I talk about this in my class, that glazes brush on very different than they fire. This color is called Dunes, and it's a neutral brown. It's actually a very pale, a tannish brown color. But when it's brushed on, it looks like a charcoal gray, and it fires to this tan. And I'll show that in a future video. And actually, I've got a piece here with this, with Dunes. Got so many pieces of my pottery here. Got some spoons I need to glaze. This is the kind of tan it fires to. It's a matte finish. It actually kind of feels like stone and has this brown look to it. I love this finish because it almost looks as if it's just bisqueware clay or full fired clay without glaze. Almost like the effect you would get in a wood firing. But I've got 3 coats of this neutral and this tan. I've tested it, so I know it comes out true to what the bottle says. But now I want to layer another color on it. I want to make it interesting. And the thing you want to ask yourself when you're deciding on what colors to layer is, who are you doing this for? If you're doing it for yourself, well then a lot of times I'll tell students, think of colors that you tend to gravitate towards. Those are the colors you want to do and use. Well, for me, I tend to gravitate towards neutrals and blues. So those tend to be a recurring theme in a lot of my pieces. I'm going to show you this one. This is actually 3 different layers of color. I used a color called Snow and then 2 other blues. And clearly, there's quite a contrast between these 2 blues. And I like the way each of them flow and then also react with the white. So I love to see these effects. Now, you know, maybe in middle school or in elementary school, when you glaze something, for the ease of things, you glazed it all one color. I think you need to try a lot of different combinations of layering to get the different effects, because I do think it adds more interest. I'm going to show you another combination here. Again, it's a neutral with a turquoise blue. And I love this combination too. So it's a contrast, but not as severe as a contrast is something like layering blue, just straight up blue over white. This dripping effect happened on its own because it pulled, I did a band of color, and I'm going to show you how I did that on this piece. And because of the heaviness of the glazes, they run and they'll pool, and it adds an interesting effect. Some do more than others. As you can see, this one, this neutral brown did run, but not the way the blues run. So it's kind of fun to see how how different glazes are gonna react with each other. Here's actually 2 different browns. And this one is a matte finish. Actually, I think this is the bottom of this is Dunes. And this is another brown, I think. I'm not even going to try to guess that one. This one I love too. This is Dunes with one of my greens. Just a really great combination too. So it's good things to try. Here's 2 blues. Not a big contrast here. These are things I try to tell my students to try in class. You don't have to choose a red and a blue or a black and a white or something that's, you know, a stark contrast. You can do subtle contrasts. And let's see what else I've got here to show you. I tried some blues and greens. Love this effect. Unfortunately, I never think the camera does it justice to see all the different, some iridescent looks. Here's one of my favorite. This one I tried, and I was trying some blues with a neutral, and then I actually just took a brush and I touched red all along the rim. Well, the red actually just ran down just enough to make it super interesting. Again, this is just layering. So, and here's another idea of layering. Okay, so this one I'm kind of going out of the box. I'm going to do red and see how red reacts with the dunes. Now this is a high shine red, whereas the dunes, as you can see, is a flat, it's a matte finish. So I'm going to make sure I shake this really good. You want to make sure when you are glazing that you're using a clean brush. I use these very inexpensive brushes. We have these in class along with brushes that are similar to this. These are nice too because when you are layering and you want a nice squared off stripe, this is your guy. So actually let's use this. Make sure that you're shaken or stirred. Make sure you keep your hand on that cover so you're not wearing your glazes. And I'm going to have it set up on my banding wheel so that I could dip my brush and just turn it. I don't want it to drip down. I want to add it myself. I want to see how this glaze pulls. So I'm probably going to do, being that Dunes is kind of thick and I get to know my glazes, and for my students in class, you know, we can always discuss different glazes and how they react because we do have different brands and the different types, even if they're all by Amico, they have different types of glazes. Some look better with red body clay and some look great no matter what kind of clay you have. So you really want to just ask or test or see the test tile yourself. So the nice thing about having the banding wheel is I don't have to touch my piece, so I don't have to worry about accidentally rubbing off some of the glaze that I have on there already. And it dripped anyway. So I'm going to just go ahead and let that be. And I've got all this room for this glaze to run and not worry about it actually coming down, going past the foot, and then sticking to the kiln shelf. That I don't want. So I'm also going to use the red around the rim. So this is going to be really interesting to see how the red reacts with the brown. And I'm hoping to get something exciting. I'm hoping the red is going to show through. I've had good luck with this red in the past. And I'm going to show you another piece I have here too. And I want to do more little trays like this. This is that red with gray. And I just took a skinny brush and I just did some stripes. I just wanted to see how it would move. I love it. I love how the red contrasts against the gray. Came out really pretty. Here I just did a couple of red dots. I did a snow white background with some gray and a couple of red dots. Red, you got to be careful with it. It's pretty intense. So if you use too much of it, it might be too much to look at. So you want to think about that with your glazes. So I hope I've given you some ideas. Seeing the different layering. All these that I'm showing you are just layering that I've done. Some were dipped, some were brushed, and I prefer dipping my pieces in, but I'm really trying so many new colors that the best way to try them is to buy a pint of them. And so now we're gonna see how the red comes out. Stay tuned.